My girl, you made Mom and me so proud today. I'll never forget the day you got accepted. That look on your face. Remember how you just jumped in right away and gave it everything? You obviously got your mother's brains. The way you never gave up, it was so inspiring. Especially for your little brother. And now I can watch him follow his dreams.
Good morning or good afternoon or good evening where you are. My name is Vikas Pota. I'm the founder and CEO of T4 Education. When we started T4, it started off as a community endeavor and still remains so. And the word community really comes into it. The thing that I had traversed the world about many moons ago, actually that experience came to inform exactly how I do things over here and how we think about building out, the world's largest community of teachers and schools, as I've expressed it. And the thing is that it's only possible because of the technology gains that have been made. And so prior to when we did our first event in May of 2020, where we had 103,000 teachers join us for an online conference, I was continuously pinching myself because the data that was coming in from those that had registered were, there were so many people from all these places where we thought that connectivity and devices were such an issue. And all of a sudden, from all these wonderful places in the world, teachers and schools were joining and participating and taking the advantage of all the different things that we have done since, actually. And so it gives rise to this question about, well, how to use tech? And actually, I live in London where we have this interest and in Africa in particular. I get asked this question a lot in terms of, well, how do you make sure you don't leave out African educators and such forth? So you will know that last week, for example, we the Africa Education Medal that we designed and gave birth to and ran in partnership with HP, with Intel and Microsoft was announced. And you will obviously remember that because I'm still singing about it from the rooftops, that Oprah Winfrey gave us this incredible testimonial in support of the winner, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng from the University of Cape Town. And again, when I look at just the spread of all the goodness and all the goodwill and all the cheering that has happened, I can tell you from the middle of these countries where there really is no connectivity, there really are no devices, I would have said, yet teachers are joining in. And so what I wanted to do today was, as part of a series of conversations we're having with HP, weighing in as a result of their expertise, we wanted to talk about, tech for Africa. In particular, what we said was, what's the future of learning, working and collaborating on the continent? And so I'm delighted today that we have, an HP senior colleague called Pavlos Vezirtzoglou. Forgive me, I may have butchered your name, Pavlos, but welcome to the T4 TV. Pavlos, thank you so much for everything that you have been doing and the partnership that we have with HP. But more importantly, thank you for banging the drum for connectivity and devices. Because when I think about SDG 4 in particular, I think about Africa being ground zero. The world will miss its targets unless African teachers, African educators, African students are connected. And so what you do as a company is quite critical in that regard, and you're part of the ecosystem. So I'm really pleased to have you with us here today. Pavlos, do you want to say a little bit more about your work and what you specifically do in HP?
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you for the introduction. So, like you mentioned, my name is Pavlos Vezirtzoglou. It's a bit difficult to pronounce that. I'm within HP the last 20 years. My current role is that I'm the sales manager for the end user sales. When we say end user sales, we're talking about the major organization across the continent. So we're talking about ministries like the Ministry of Education, school, universities, telco operator, banks. So we have a quite big team which is spread across the region, which is covering the end customers. And one of the specific verticals that we focus and we take care of education, of course.
And so, it gives rise to this question. Africa, we can't just take it as one. It's not one country. It's 50 odd countries, and it's quite a general question I ask you. But are the needs of African consumers, when it comes to devices in particular, different to other parts of the world? And in here, what I'm looking for as an answer is, or at least some insight on, are things like, what matters when it comes to the purchase of a computer. I'm curious because for me, it's about processing power. It's about camera actually nowadays. And so tell us a little bit more as to what do consumers want.
I would say that because a very simple answer to that is they would like to have exactly the same tools and access to technology like the rest of the world. Though that becomes a bit more complex for Africa based on the budget, the geography, and of course the infrastructure that we have today. HP is offering a quite big portfolio of products, solutions, and services, which is totally tailor-made for the education industry, like I mentioned before, across the personal and operating system. Moreover, there is a big portfolio of products which is covering different kinds of operating systems, CPU vendors, but also entry-level, mid-range, and high-end products based on the needs and the budget, of course, of the teachers and the student and the teachers. Now, specifically to your question about Africa, I would say that one of the most, let's say, important elements is that you can learn from anywhere. You saw that during the pandemic period, the last 2 years, you can be in school, you can be outside school, on or off the campus. You have to carry something which is going to be thin and light, and it's going to be very easy, even for the smallest students, to go still with it. You have to study without interruptions. So the long life cycle battery, it plays a significant role. It's very critical. And of course, you need a high, digital camera in order to have the best, let's say, collaboration with other students, with other schools, with other countries, colleagues, students from all around the world. But the most important, like you mentioned, is to have to be light and thin. So, the students do have to carry something which is quite heavy every day.
But tell me, Pavlos, what happens to things like cost?
That was exactly my comment when I mentioned that, sometimes we believe that, of course, you have to give a premium to buy a PC, a notebook, or a desktop. Nevertheless, based on the portfolio that we carry as a HP, there is a device for everywhere. And of course, our focus and our target is, we have a preferential of buying a notebook compared to a smartphone, which is something which is very, famous in cross Africa, because the notebook, it's a tool that you can create content. And of course, this is going to enable the skills for the students for tomorrow.
Well, thank you. And Pavlos, I thought we should take some comments from those that are watching. Our community actually loves contributing and saying hello, and from all over the world actually, and not just from Africa. So here, I'm just going to flash up some comments and say hi to some friends who join us on a regular basis, and it just seems appropriate to do that. And so what we have is Jasmine. Welcome to the session, everyone. Thank you so much. Then we have, forgive me, Dragica. I don't know what that says, but I think you're from Serbia. Greetings to you. Thank you for your warm greetings from Syria. I really appreciate it. Here is my friend Akil Dala from Tanzania. Akil, thank you. Are you still in Zanzibar? It would be useful to share some photos. We have, hi, Tarek from Egypt. Good to meet you. Rejul from Bangladesh. Hi. Great seeing you here. Buse is from Ankara in Turkey. Kalyani is a country ambassador of ours from India. Hi. Ishmael is from South Africa. Thank you so much for joining, Ishmael. How was it to have the inaugural winner of the African Education Medal from your country? I'd love to hear from you. I don't know who you are, but watching from Buenos Aires, thank you so much. Ketia Yini from India. Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking part. Georgia from Greece. Hello.
From Greece as well. Hi, Georgia.
I think we say Opa. And on and on it goes. And thank you. And here's Minu from India as well saying hello, good evening. It is evening where you are. Yash Chavan from this a US non-profit organization, Interactive Software. Thank you for promoting. Appreciate it. Achal Tejuja from India, from Mumbai. Thank you so much for joining. Dijana from Macedonia. Thank you for participating, coming today. And what we have is we have friends, and I'll take another round later on. But tell me, Pavlos, when I think about predictions for the use of tech in African classrooms, what do you have to say about that? Because let me just tell you, prior to doing what I do now, I used to run a philanthropic foundation, and we used to sometimes think that actually the best technology we can give is paper and pencil, because they also don't exist in many of these locations. And here we are talking about connectivity and devices. What are your predictions for the use of tech in African classrooms? Are paper and pencil the best technology we can provide?
So thanks for the question, Vidas. I think that the prediction, the ambition for Africa specifically, it's we have the ambition to have one device per kid across all the countries. Of course, we know that we have budget restrictions, but this is the target. Secondly, the telco operators, they are quite crucial on that prediction, because they have to provide data to all the schools and all the classrooms. But for me, the most important about the prediction is that the teachers should become more digital advanced. On that specific point, we have two projects, the HP Idea and the HP Classroom, that is supporting teachers towards that direction. Coming to your question about the notepad and the pencil, I would say that of course they have to remain. On education, we have seen that one solution does not fit all. The students nowadays, they learn through different ways. I mean, when I used to be a student, there was only one way. You have to learn this one, you have to read the book, and then you have to go back to the classroom and talk about it. Nowadays, you have different kinds. You have the audio, you have the video, you have the collaboration tools with other students from other countries, from other classrooms. But also you have the books, and you have the notebooks and the tablets, of course.
Thanks a lot. And so you touched on this whole thing about how can we help teachers in the use of tech. And, we have a huge program around this where in April next year, we will again host the Teacher Tech Summit, which is all about helping teachers in the use of tech and incorporate tech and tools in their practice. But tell us about your initiatives that you have.
Yeah. So I spoke about two initiatives, specifically the HP Idea and the HP Class. So the HP Idea program aims to substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills for employment, decent jobs, and entrepreneurship. Ensure that all youth and a substantial proportion of adults, both men and women from the community, achieve literacy and numeracy. Substantially increase the supply of qualified teachers by teacher training in developing countries, in less developing countries, and small island developing states. In a nutshell, through the HP Idea, we're making education accessible and engaging for everybody. The second one that you mentioned is the HP Classroom, and this has to do more about what I mentioned before, that one solution does not fit all. So through the HP Classroom, what we do, we measure the performance of each one of the students. We provide access to totally tailor-made, personalized tracing for the students. We can easily launch school classroom to anyone, anywhere, and at any time. All the well-known virtual learning platforms like Teams, Zoom are supported, and we saw that how crucial it is the last 2 years with the pandemic. And now everybody's back to the classroom, but you never know if we have a similar case in the future. But also proven to motivate and inspire even the most challenging student demographic. And this is something that it's not only about the classroom. You can level up to the school and up to the ministry. So the Ministry of Education, they can see what are the needs, what are the struggles and the challenges of the students, so they can accommodate according to the curriculum, but the most important, to personalize the training that they have to do for each one of the students.
And so, Pavlos, when I think about, if I was a consumer, which I am often with my own kids, what are the top 3 to 5 things that we consider when using like a PC or a device for a student or a teacher? I mean, are they different in Africa as to where else? I know you've answered the question saying that everyone's aspirations are the same, but what should I consider if I'm a teacher watching this? What should I consider when I'm making the choice of device?
The students are very eager to learn. I mean, this is something that we see everywhere. I can tell you that the last 20 years in HP, the most common thing for me was Africa. So I have traveled to almost something like 30 countries,
Wow.
and I was very lucky that I spoke with a lot of teachers, students, parents. The issue is that we're talking about very remote areas. So in these cases, the students, they have to cover big distance sometimes to go to the school. So this might be a bit different compared to Europe. On that specific aspect, I would say that if we have something which is thin, like I mentioned before, light, it has a very good, let's say, battery life. So through the 8-10 hours of the hours of the in the student for the of the in the school for the students, not have to charge it again, to have a very good collaboration tools like the camera, the microphone, the quality of the display is good, so you can collaborate with other students across the globe. Those are the items for me that should be the most, let's say, the most crucial to have in one notebook. On the other side, of course, we should have, the charges in the schools. So in case they have to charge, we should have access to data. That goes back to my comment that I mentioned before about, what kind of access we have and how the telco operators they support the classroom in Africa. So if you put all this together, I think you have the best, let's say, product. And of course, like I mentioned, different life of products, entry level, mid range, high end.
So one of the things I love about HP, and I should just tell everyone, is your commitment to digital equity in particular. And the you lead with the purpose, like in that sense, like a lot of companies fail to do actually. And so many congratulations to you for that as HP. But can you tell us a little bit more about where this comes from? Like, we almost think, like, when we think about companies, it's not possible for companies to be like this. We're kind of skeptical in life. But tell us, where does the purpose lens come into at HP? Where does it start, and what is the origin of this commitment?
Okay. HP is a purpose-driven company, and we focus a lot on education and on different programs that support the community. You have heard about the HP global goal to accelerate digital equity for 150 million people by 2030, and to enable better learning outcomes for 100 million people by 2025. And we have started that in 2015. I think that only if you put the numbers, we're talking about 1 billion youth people in the continent of Africa. So those are let's say, this is the reason behind why we have such a big focus on education. I will tell you also that in order to be successful in education, 65 to 70% of the students that they go to school today, we don't know what is going to be the job that they're going to do after 10 years. And I'm saying that because I have a kid as well, of course. So is not only about access to knowledge, but it's about skills. How you provide the skills to all the kids around the globe, that when they come in a different situation, when they have to adapt in the new job, they have the skills and they can create something on their own. So back to your comment, do we use a notepad? Do we use pencil? Of course, because every kid learn in a totally different way. So all the means in order to develop the skills for the kids. So when the time comes, they are going to excel on any category, on any industry as well. Also in a world where humans are augmented by artificial intelligence, which is the new trend today, creative collaboration will be our most valuable skills. This is coming back to the skills that I mentioned before. To that end, the all learning models need to go in favor of a more student-centric, personalized, and experimental approach. And I can tell you that for Generation Z, if I'm not mistaken, it's called Z now, the technology is a seamless extension of their core. So it's something which is natural, and you can see in the kids, you give them, a notebook, you give them a device, they can very fast, learn how to use it much better than us. Also, during the pandemic, everybody has to use all these collaboration tools. I mean, the kids of today are going to get in the job tomorrow and they know everything by heart, which was not the case for us.
Well, Pavlos, thank you so much for coming forth and actually helping us understand this subject a lot better. And again, I congratulate you and your friends at HP for this huge commitment that you make. And without further ado, I'd like to thank you as partners to T4 for the Africa Education Medal and all our different initiatives. Please know that we are really grateful to every single one of you. On that note, we end with this wonderful video that you have provided to us, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future, Pavlos. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vikas, for everything. Thank you.
It's never just your dream, but also of those close to you. It's never just your hustle, but also of those who believe in you. It is never just your disappointment, but also of those who share your hopes. It is never just your ambition, but also of those who have faith in you. Which is why it's never your success alone, but also of those who stood by you.